What is the fate of the universe? I recently came across this question while looking through some old Reddit threads, and since then, it's been keeping me up at night. So here's what I found. The universe could be fated to die in one of two ways. Either a heat death, known as the Big Freeze, or a catastrophic collapse, known as the Big Crunch. But before we can determine which fate will befall us, we need to figure out what the heck is happening out there in space. As far back as humans have been looking up at the stars, we've always seen the same view, a seemingly infinite collection of unchanging constellations. But modern science tells us that everything is in motion. The stars are moving, the galaxies are moving, and even the whole universe itself is expanding. This expansion was first discovered in 1929 by Edwin Hubble, who also found that the farther away a galaxy is from us, the faster it's moving away. This observation led to what's known as Hubble's law, which basically says that the rate at which the universe is expanding is directly proportional to the distance between objects. In other words, the greater the distance between two galaxies, the faster they're moving apart. Now, if we were to flip this relationship around, we would find that all the galaxies in the universe were once grouped together in a single place. And if we were to wind the clock back even further, we would eventually find ourselves at a point of infinite density known as the Big Bang. In other words, everything that exists in the universe today started out as a hot, dense ball of plasma. But not everyone is happy with this Big Bang story. Some scientists believe that our universe is actually just one of many that exist outside of time and space. They call this the multiverse. Now, whether or not this is true doesn't really matter because no one will ever be able to prove it. Okay, so assuming that our universe is all there is, what will happen to it? Well, to answer that question, we need to look at what's called the heat death of stars. All stars produce heat through a process known as nuclear fusion, which is essentially the combining of lighter elements to form heavier ones. For example, our sun fuses hydrogen into helium in its core. As the star ages, it will eventually run out of hydrogen, causing it to collapse in on itself. If the star is massive enough, it'll eventually reach a state known as a white dwarf. White dwarfs don't produce any light or heat. They're just really dense balls of mostly carbon and oxygen. Over billions of years, these white dwarfs will eventually become so heavy that gravity will start to pull them apart, releasing a giant burst of energy known as a supernova. Okay, so what does this have to do with the fate of the universe? Well, all the matter in the universe will eventually be recycled through these stellar furnaces. Eventually, every single atom will form part of a white dwarf, which means that nothing will remain that can produce light or heat. In other words, the universe will be completely dark and cold, which scientists refer to as the heat death or the Big Freeze. Now, there's another possible fate for our universe, and that's the Big Crunch. This scenario is based on the idea that one day the expansion of the universe will flip and our universe will literally begin to collapse. As the universe begins to collapse, galaxies would move away from each other at an ever-increasing speed until they were ripped apart. Stars would be flung through the darkness, crashing into each other and exploding one by one until every single star goes out, leaving only a hot, dense ball of plasma. So which fate awaits us? Well, based on the laws of physics as we currently understand them, the most likely answer is the Big Freeze. But that's just my opinion. What do you think will happen to the universe? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe for more. As always, thanks for watching.